to 1 minute. And with that, I will turn it over to Lindsay Kryzak to open it up to the public. Thanks, Lindsay.
Thanks, Chair Khan. Before we begin, please note that the FTC is recording this event, which may be maintained, used, and disclosed to the extent authorized or required by applicable law, regulation, or order, and it may be made available in whole or part in the public record in accordance with the Commission's rules. Each speaker will be given 1 minute to address the Commission today. Our first speaker is Joe Marion. Joe?
Thank you. I am from the ASCCCI, an association of companies that recycle, resell, and service tech equipment. We've been waiting 25 years for today. The right to repair and the right to resell are two sides of the same coin. IBM, who was the dominant computer company in the 1950s, originally only rented equipment because they didn't want to compete with anyone reselling their used products. In 1956, in response to an antitrust action by the U.S. Department of Justice, IBM entered into a consent decree agreeing to sell its equipment and provide the parts and wiring diagrams required to fix them. The results gave consumers choice and was good for the environment and fostered competition and innovation. In 1996, IBM and the DOJ vacated the consent decree. Since then, most tech manufacturers have made it next to impossible for anyone to fix and resell their products by withholding software parts and warranties. So I want to thank the Commission today for your vote.
Thank you, Joe. Our next speaker is Jessa Jones. Jessa? Just maybe unmute. Great, thank you. Thank you, Jessa. Sorry, you've hit your 1 minute mark. Our next speaker, thanks. Our next speaker is Edward Salami. Edward?
Thank you. My name is Edward Salami, Executive Director of the Automotive Body Parts Association. Today, I'm speaking to you in my role as a board member for the Consumer Access to Repair, or CAR Coalition. The CAR Coalition is a growing group of independent automotive part distributors, management and repair companies, associations, and insurers committed to preserving consumer choice and affordable vehicle repair. The coalition commends the FTC's unanimously approved Nixon to Fix report, which highlighted multiple cases of manufacturers limiting consumer choice in the automotive repair space. To quote the report, there is scant evidence to support manufacturers' justifications for repair restrictions. We could not agree more. We also commend the President's executive order on competition and strongly encourage the FTC to follow its guidance recommending a rulemaking process on repair and maintenance restrictions. We feel strongly that the repair and maintenance of motor vehicles should be included in that process, as Americans are literally paying for the price for the ever-increasing cost of auto repairs. The time to act is now. Please visit carcoalition.com for more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Edward. Our next speaker is Joni Wolfel. Joni?
Good afternoon. My name is Joni Wolfel. I'm the CEO of Far West Equipment Dealers Association. Appreciate the opportunity to speak about the right to repair restrictions policy being considered by the Commission. Far West represents farm equipment dealers in 7 states across the West. Please refer to our written comments submitted by FIDE and as a member of the Coalition Opposed to Illegal Tampering, for the Commission's review, detailing our concerns about policy that would provide unlimited access to software that can be used to override equipment emissions and safety controls. We support and facilitate consumers' right to repair their farm equipment. We oppose the right to modify. We welcome the opportunity to demonstrate to the Commission how dealers are supporting consumers in diagnosing and repairing their equipment, making regulations unnecessary. My contact information is provided in our correspondence, and we look forward to being able to work with you on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Joni. Our next speaker is Darren Tucker. Darren.
Good afternoon. My name is Darren Tucker. I'm a partner and chair of the Antitrust Practice Group at Vincent & Elkins and a former FTC attorney. On February 4, the Commission, with the support of the Department of Justice, suspended the granting of early termination of the waiting period for Hart-Scott-Rodino pre-merger notification filings and stated that the FTC planned to review the procedures used to grant early termination. The agency explained at the time that, quote, "We anticipate that this temporary suspension will be brief," end quote. Yet more than 5 months later, the suspension remains in effect, with the result that the closings of hundreds of competition enhancing or competitively neutral transactions have been delayed. I hope the Commission, in conjunction with the Department of Justice, will give serious consideration to promptly restoring the early termination program. And if the standards for granting early termination change, to provide guidance to the private sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. Our next speaker is Adoni Washington. Adoni.
Hello, I'm an attorney with the Digital Justice Initiative at the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. The FTC must protect the civil rights and privacy of consumers in data-driven commerce. Privacy rights are civil rights, and commercial data practices are inextricably intertwined with equal opportunity. The FTC should initiate rulemaking and take other appropriate actions to regulate commercial data practices, create an Office of Civil Rights to examine how trade practices overseen by the Commission may result in unjust, disparate treatment or impact on the basis of protected characteristics, and commit greater resources to aggressively enforce against unfair and deceptive practices. The FTC has many tools at its disposal to help protect online civil rights and privacy. It must use all of them, including rulemaking. The exploitative commercial data practices of big tech directly cause many harms, such as algorithmic discrimination and discrimination on the basis of protected characteristics. There are data breaches, privacy violations, and civil rights abuses that continue to go unchecked and slip through the cracks. The FTC must take immediate action to protect the civil rights of Black Americans and other people of color. Thank you.
Thank you, Adoni. Our next speaker is Eric Null. Eric.
Thank you, Chair Khan and Commissioners, for allowing me to speak to you today and for the extensive work that you do. My name is Eric Null. I am the U.S. Policy Manager at Access Now, a global human rights nonprofit that focuses on protecting and extending people's digital rights, including privacy. I want to stress the importance of taking bold action on privacy and civil rights. As the foremost agency on data practices, the FTC is acutely aware of the harms, particularly for communities of color, caused by unbounded and unprincipled data collection and use, algorithmic discrimination, biased facial recognition software, overcollection of data, just to name a few. To help prevent these harms, the FTC should capitalize on its various sources of authority, but specifically, it should begin a rulemaking proceeding to build that record of harmful practices and to promulgate effective privacy rules that apply broadly. The proceeding should focus on at least preventing discriminatory data practices, minimizing data collected and retained, addressing data brokers, and ensuring data portability. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Eric. Our next speaker is Elizabeth Roth. Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Ropp. I'm a licensed acupuncturist in New Hampshire. I want the Commission to be aware of can you hear me? Okay. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Ropp. I'm a licensed acupuncturist in New Hampshire. I want the Commission to be aware of the anti-competitive practices of the National Certification Commission of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine. The NCCIOM is a trade association that acts as a test agency and a certification body. They lobby at federal and state levels for policies that force acupuncturists to continuously pay to maintain NCCIOM brand certification long after we've passed their exams. Without it, we can't work at the VA or keep licenses in roughly half of US states. The job market for acupuncturists is dismal, yet NCCIOM executives make six-figure salaries. Thank you for looking into it.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Our next speaker is Norah Nellis. Norah? Apologies, I think Norah may have fallen off. Our next speaker is Scott Schlegel. Scott?
Scott Schlegel, thank you. Scott Schlegel passes on comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Our next speaker is Mary Scallo. Mary?
I want to thank the commissioners for their vote today to maintain the care labeling rule. I represent the Dry Clean Laundry Institute, and we have small business dry cleaners and launderers, retail dry cleaners and launderers across the United States and international that depend greatly on the care label rule, as do most consumers. So I commend the commissioners for maintaining this care label rule. And I also agree with the commissioners that the rule needs to be updated to reflect current practices and current technologies that are out in the fabric care industry today. So I look forward to working with them in the future to update the rule. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Andrea Mikko. Andrea.
Thank you. This is Andrea Mikko. I'm the founder of Privacy for Cars. The right of repair movement is bringing to light the accelerating and dangerous collection of sensitive consumer data by vehicles. Sensitive personal information is collected, shared, and brokered by the broad auto industry, often without the understanding of consumers. And last year, more than 4 out of 5 cars were resold while still containing personal information: the home address, garage codes, text messages, biometrics, geolocation, much more. The FTC spoke 3 times to these risks, but only some auto financing fleets have laid safety nets to prevent the silent data breach that affects tens of millions of Americans. I hope that with renewed attention of the executive branch on the hoarding of consumer data, that this agency will issue clear guidance to dealership, rentals, auto finance, and insurance companies, and educate the public on the need to protect the personal information collected by vehicles. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Charlotte Simon. Charlotte?
Thank you. I'm Charlotte Slayman, the Competition Policy Director at Public Knowledge, a nonprofit consumer advocacy group. Thank you for your action at the last open meeting to rescind the 2015 policy statement that unnecessarily tied the FTC's hands, preventing the Commission from taking aggressive action to increase competition across our economy. At that meeting, Chair Khan suggested that it may be useful to adopt a new policy statement. We believe this is a smart strategy. A revised policy statement should make it clear that Section 5 is not identical to the Sherman and Clayton Acts, and that conduct can be challenged as an unfair method of competition under Section 5, even if it would not violate these antitrust laws. It should lay out the policy goals that will guide the FTC's decision-making as the agency reclaims its full Section 5 authority. I also want to thank the FTC staff for their invaluable work on behalf of the American people. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. Our next speaker is Ed Mrzwinski. Ed?
Thank you. I'm Ed Mrzwinski, Chair Khan and Commissioners. I'm here with US PIRG. As mentioned in the New York Times, the old FTC's decades-long promotion of a weak notice and opt-out privacy regime has fueled the 24/7 business model used by big tech, which the old FTC failed to hold accountable, but I'm confident that you will. The FTC should back passage of strong federal privacy by default, privacy and digital rights protections that allow stronger state laws and allow consumers to enforce their rights. The FTC should also urge the administration to reject pressure from powerful special interests to subject European citizens to a new privacy shield that subjects them to the US Wild West surveillance advertising model without the substantive rights guaranteed by GDPR. I've attached in my comments a copy of a privacy and digital rights for all platform from leading consumer and civil rights groups, and I'm confident that the new FTC can do better than the old FTC, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Ed. Our next speaker is Daniel Mustiko. Daniel?
Chair Khan, commissioners, I speak today on behalf of OPEI's 100+ members who manufacture outdoor power and lawn and garden equipment, golf cars, personal transport, and utility vehicles. Today, I want to highlight 2 points from our submitted written comments concerning our opposition to a broad commission policy statement and subsequent rule proposal on the so-called right to repair. Simply, the role played by electronics, software, and code in our members' products is vastly different than in other consumer electronics. First, right to repair regulation fails to consider consumer safety and environmental protection with respect to our industry's products. As examples, it would allow for modification, tampering of safety controls of powered lawnmower blades required under law by US CPSC, and engine emission controls required under law by the US EPA. These are only a few of the countless examples within our industry alone. Second, our OPEI members already provide all information and tools necessary to repair industry products, unless such tools—
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate your comments. Our next speaker is Toby Mixon. Toby?
All right, first off, whoever changed my name, you should have asked me, asked before doing that. I don't need that. But I have an official complaint to make against Adobe. The way their licensing is supposed to work is if you make something in their program, you legally own rights to it. The way the recent policy change has made it is I can't access art that I legally own, and that is unfair to me as a consumer. And there's a lot of other people who have mentioned this. I am not the only one. So I just thought that is something that should be brought to your attention, and that's all.
Okay, thank you, Toby. Our next speaker is Gregory Scott. Gregory?
Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Greg Scott. I'm with the American Alliance for Vehicle Owners' Rights. AVOR's members are united with one common policy goal. Vehicle owners must be guaranteed access to and control of the data generated by their vehicles. AVOR represents consumer advocates, fleets, aftermarket repair facilities, insurers, and telematics providers. AVOR asked the FTC to look beyond phones and tractors as it implements its policy statement on uncompetitive and anti-consumer practices by manufacturers. AVOR urges the FTC to focus on the broader principles that consumers own all aspects of their personal property, whether a phone, a tractor, a computer, or a car, and have the right to control access by third parties to that device, vehicle, or equipment. AVOR looks forward to working with you and your staff on implementing this important policy statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Our next speaker is Tony Ledger. Tony?
Yes, I'm in a private practice as an independent service organization for over 30 years. We specialize in flow cytometry instruments, research instrumentation. Very few manufacturers in the flow cytometry world comply with Kodak. Obtaining parts and service manuals has always been a challenge for our whole time. In the past 10 years, our main brand supplier has reversed their policy, making it extremely difficult to one of diversion, denial, and consistent delay in getting those parts. We observe this company treating others fairly while we have a difficult time obtaining the same parts. Factually, this has a dramatic negative impact on our ability to compete against those manufacturers. And it also has a dramatic impact on the ability for some researchers to obtain access to this very, very powerful research equipment. They simply can't afford it. We would ask that you don't allow medical device manufacturers to do carve-outs. Make sure that they have to comply the same as all the other manufacturers. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Our next speaker is Randall Marks. Randall?
Sorry, I'm trying to start my video.
That's great.
As a former BC staffer, here are 2 ways to conserve resources and deter violations. First, enact a rule barring naked and near-naked price fixing and identifying specific acts that would subject an individual to liability for furthering that conduct. Second, make more referrals for perjury and obstruction of justice and advocate that DOJ prosecute them. DOJ declined to prosecute a pharmacy benefit manager despite the fact that I had a tape that contradicted his testimony about his invitation to collude. Finally, I submitted a petition urging a rule requiring large social media companies to provide in-person customer service. When I was hacked and lost access to my Facebook account for a month, I received over 100 automated emails before my account was restored. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Our next speaker is Peter Sternheimer. Peter?
Yes. So I applaud the Commission's vote to rescind the proposed repeal of the care label rule. Moving forward, I recommend proceeding with prior rulemaking, which ended with the March 2014 roundtable. This roundtable primarily focused on whether a new professional wet clean care label should be required. My keynote presentation to the roundtable provided reliable evidence strongly supporting each FTC criterion for requiring this label. Requiring a professional wet clean label would remedy unfair and deceptive practices created by current dry clean and dry clean only labeling. As such, this remedy, requiring a professional wet clean label to correct unfair and deceptive practices, supports the core mission of the FTC. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Our next speaker is Kevin Kenny. Kevin?
I think you got me here. My name is Kevin Kenny. I'm a farmer, precision ag advisor, and right to repair advocate. I can report today farmers celebrate the President's executive order stating tractor companies block farmers from repairing their own tractors. Companies like John Deere actually hide their use of open source code from farmers and refuse to contribute and improve it. They refuse farmers' requests for copies of this code in direct violation of the GPL B3 license. Number one, I think the FTC should set up a farm data and privacy task force through CISA to help monitor the abuse of data harvesting and monetizing of farm data by the tractor companies. Number two, I think FEMA should engage in big data ag companies like Bayer Corporation, who are already connected to 40,000 tractors to the internet, and build a recovery and restore infrastructure so farmers can store tractor data. The most important thing I want you to know that we need help out here, and I think now is the time to do it. You guys sound really positive, and that's the most encouraging thing is listening to the commissioners. And keep up the good work. That's all.
Thank you, Kevin. Our next speaker is Hannah Beth Jackson. Hannah Beth.
Good morning or good afternoon. I'm Hannah Beth Jackson from Santa Barbara, California, and for the past 2 decades, up to December 2020, I served in the California State Legislature, and for the past 7 years was chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee. I had a constituent, Callie Hauk, whose 2 daughters were killed by an unrepaired recalled car, so I am familiar with this issue. I urge the Commission to undo the consent orders that the FTC entered into with General Motors, CarMax, and other auto dealership chains that allow them to engage in false and deceptive advertising regarding the safety of dangerously defective used vehicles with unrepaired safety recalls. Those orders condone lying about deadly safety defects and are frankly worse than nothing. In fact, in California, our legislature also fought against similar efforts by car dealers to deceive consumers. And as a former policymaker, I know it's critical that the public trust that our government will not allow, tolerate, condone, or encourage false and deceptive practices that can lead to death or serious injury. Please undo this consent order. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah Beth. Our next speaker is Mark Hennessy. Mark?
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Hennessy. I'm the CEO of the Iowa-Nebraska Equipment Dealers Association with over 400 dealership locations spread across 2 states. Today, nothing restricts the consumer from repairing their ag equipment. The same diagnostic tools, software documentation, and training that our dealers purchase from their respective ag manufacturers, such as Deere, Case, and New Holland, is available to the public. Any producer, independent repair shop, or anyone who wishes to buy these products can do so today. Many of my dealer websites have these products available online for purchase. The ag industry has been rolled into this discussion by the right to repair advocates claiming they can't repair their ag equipment. That is not true. We are not the cell phone industry where consumers or independent repair shops are unable to repair cell phones. Therefore, I respectfully request this committee to exclude the ag industry from any ruling or further action, as the same diagnostic tools, software, and documentation and training that our dealers have invested in are available for purchase by anyone who wishes to repair their ag equipment today. This right to repair already exists within ag and available to anyone who wishes to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Our next speaker is Tim McGhee. Tim?
Good afternoon. I'm Tim McGhee with TriMedics, speaking on behalf of the Alliance for Quality Medical Device Servicing, and comprised of 7 of the country's largest independent service organizations that maintain and repair medical devices. First, we applaud the FTC's report to Congress on anti-competitive practices related to repair markets. And while the report covered several areas, we're pleased to see recognition of these issues in the medical device field. We believe some medical manufacturers engage in anti-competitive practices by restricting access to critical parts, manuals, keys, tools, and training. We stand behind the right of device owners to service their devices as they see fit. The pandemic highlighted this problem and the burden on hospitals and independent servicers to maintain critical devices, as noted by Commissioner Chopra, and also at its significant cost to an already overburdened healthcare system. We urge the FTC to support right to repair efforts to ensure medical devices are included in that discussion, and to that end, appreciate the action taken by the Commission today. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Our next speaker is Susan Grant. Susan?
Thank you. I'm Director of Consumer Protection and Privacy at Consumer Federation of America. Thank you for preserving the Care Labeling Act. The proposal to repeal the rule was shockingly unfounded and anti-consumer. It should be voluntary to provide consumers and cleaners with this vital information. In consumer groups' comments, we suggested possible updates to the rule, but I want to make clear that if care information is provided online, it should be in addition to, not replace, the care labels affixed to the items. The FTC should be focusing on cutting-edge concerns such as manipulative surveillance advertising, as well as traditional issues that it seems to have been ignoring, like TV ads that don't provide the full costs and hide other information in fine print. Instead of shifting risks from businesses to consumers, the FTC should be ensuring that consumers get the information and protection they need in the marketplace.
Thank you, Susan. Our next speaker is David Owens. David?
Esteemed members of the Commission, my name is David Owens and I own Rockstar Championships. We are an Oklahoma-based cheerleading event production company. The world of cheerleading market is run and completely controlled by one company, Varsity Brands Incorporated, a subsidiary of Bain Capital. Through vertical acquisitions, they now control more than 90% of our market. I spoke with FTC attorneys in 2015 regarding one of their mergers. That merger was the equivalent of Coke buying Pepsi. It was allowed and more mergers followed that. Using deceptive business practices, they also control, staff, and run the governing authorities in the United States. The United States All-Star Federation and USA Cheer are both owned by Varsity Brands Incorporated and help them engage in anti-competitive behavior. They publicly portray themselves to be independent governing bodies. Hundreds of millions of dollars have been funneled through these entities under the name of sport governance, with zero accountability for where the money has gone or who benefited. More than anything else, the deception of governance has left children exposed to sexual abuse. This has been reported in the news as recently as this week. Due to this perceived governance, children have been encouraged to turn in their allegations of abuse to employees of Varsity through the United States All-Star Federation. The persistence of this monopoly is an immediate threat to the health, well-being, and safety of the children in the sport. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Our next speaker is Jason Levine. Jason?
My name is Jason Levine. I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Auto Safety, the nation's leading independent nonprofit organization fighting for consumer protection and vehicle safety since 1970. First, we agree with the Commission's unanimous conclusion that right to repair restrictions are rarely adequately justified and believe that consumer choice is beneficial to the safety of every driver, passenger, and pedestrian. Next, in the 3 years since we asked this agency to investigate Tesla's Section 5 violations, which put the lives of consumers in danger by using deceptive terminology like autopilot to describe vehicle features, the agency has failed to act and consumers have died. We ask you to act quickly. Last, in 2016, a different set of commissioners signed off on an ill-advised consent order, which blessed the practice of used car dealers selling known dangerous recalled vehicles as safe, thus encouraging this anti-consumer practice to spread nationwide. The time has come to undo this consent order and once again protect consumers.
Thank you, Jason. Our next speaker is Paul Roberts. Paul?
Hey there. Thank you, commissioners. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. My name is Paul Roberts. I'm the founder of Secure Repairs, which is a volunteer organization of 200 information security professionals who support the right to repair. I'm here speaking to thank you for undertaking the right to repair issue. I just want to make the point that the ability of individuals to service, repair, and maintain their own property is a core right of ownership that's been recognized in U.S. law and common law for centuries. And I urge the FTC to use its rulemaking authority to reinforce this basic consumer and private property right and to update it for the digital age as manufacturers seek to turn hundreds of millions of owners of technology into tenants of their own property. In a world that is increasingly populated by internet-connected, software-powered objects, the so-called Internet of Things, a digital right to repair is a vital tool that will extend the life of electronic devices, ensure their safety, security, and integrity, and in the process, it will make homes, businesses, schools, cities, and towns more secure. And finally, in this time of increasing wealth inequality, concentrations of market power by large technology firms, digital right to repair ensures. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Terry Valentini.
Hi, I wanted to thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Terry Valentini, and give me a second. Terry Valentini, and I operate Normal Gadgets with my wife Angie here in Bloomington, Illinois. Our passion is to fix and repair electronic devices, over 80,000 in the last 9 years. We employ 8 technicians who rely on their employment making a livelihood, assisting local customers, school systems, and businesses with their smartphones, laptops, tablets, and gaming systems. Nobody wants to drive 2.5 hours to Chicago from our area to wait hours to get a battery replaced if they can do so. 95% of our repairs we do are for replacement parts. Plug and play, no software, no chip replacement, no messing with the manufacturer's secret sauce. Just like changing the oil or spark plugs on your own automobile. We highly endorse the adoption of the findings of the Nixing the Fix workshop in the right to repair. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Our next speaker is Brett Davis. Brett?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Brett Davis, and I'm the Vice President for New Holland, North America, which is a brand of C&H Industrial. We manufacture agricultural and construction equipment. To be clear, CNH Industrial and New Holland support the customer's right to repair their own equipment, but we do not support the right to modify and or tamper with the equipment's operating software. Let's consider a couple items. First, we already supply the tools, information, and manuals that our farmers regularly use to repair their own equipment. Secondly, modifying operating software will impair the safety features that have been well built and carefully thought into our equipment and could potentially present an undue hazard for the use of that equipment. Third, we adhere to strict environmental controls. These controls are built into our machines in accordance with EPA standards. Any modification to the operating system will adversely impact the emission standards. Finally, our independent dealer network across rural America are mostly made up of small family businesses that have invested in trucks, workshop, tools, and training to make sure our customers maximize the value of the equipment. Additionally, the employees who service this equipment
Thank
are
you,
well trained.
Brett.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Catherine Bolland. Catherine?
Good afternoon. I'm Catherine Bolland, Vice President of Legislative Affairs for the Motor and Equipment Manufacturers Association. I'm here today on behalf of our division, the Automotive Aftermarket Suppliers Association. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My members are aftermarket suppliers that are committed to manufacturing quality parts and service choices for drivers. Contrary to what vehicle manufacturers claim, independent aftermarket vehicle service can be completed in a safe and cyber-secure fashion. We applaud the findings and recommendations in the Nixing the Fix report and thank the FTC for today's policy statement that will ensure that vehicle owners will continue to be able to choose where to repair their vehicles. We also urge the FTC to consider what additional statutory authority may be necessary to protect consumer choice in repair and work with Congress to seek those legislative changes. Independent aftermarket service must remain a viable option. We look forward to working with the FTC and policymakers to find a solution that is acceptable to all parties. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Our next speaker is Sarah Robinson. Sarah?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Khan and members of the Commission. My name is Sarah Robinson, and I'm the Public Policy Manager at the National Consumers League. Founded in 1899, NCL's nonprofit mission is to advocate for social and economic justice on behalf of consumers and workers in the United States and abroad. I appreciate this opportunity to appear before you in support of the care labeling rule. Last year, NCL and 11 other national, state, and local consumer advocacy organizations filed comments urging the Commission to protect this important regulation by terminating its efforts to repeal the rule. We do not believe that competition alone will prompt garment manufacturers to provide consumers with necessary garment care information. Given the industry's long history of cost-cutting on labor and materials, the care labeling rule is more important today than it has ever been. Thank you for your votes today to protect this important rule.
Thank you, Sarah. Our final speaker is Norah Nellis. Norah?
Can you hear me?
We can. Thanks, Norah.
Okay, victory. Just so you know, I'm technology challenged. I'd like to thank the commissioners for their continued support of care labeling rule. For many years, the care labels have served consumers and professional cleaners well. Both have come to rely on the information as a roadmap to ensure serviceability and guaranteeing the useful life of a garment can be fully realized through proper care. Our garment analysis department has found that care labels are essential to resolving serviceability and liability issues among consumers, cleaners, retail outlets, and manufacturers. While the rule may not be perfect and the instructions may be not 100%, they are close enough to perfect to successfully guide and protect both consumers and dry cleaners. In recent years, especially post-pandemic, dry cleaners have offered are offering laundry services of wash and fold, and therefore their continued or increasing reliance on care labels is even more profound. Lastly, it should be noted that many professional cleaners have multiple processes at their disposal, including wet cleaning as well as dry cleaning. The care label, even as currently constituted, provides necessary guidance for these professionals to exercise their judgment based on their expertise as to best process to protect and ensure the longevity of a garment. I'd be happy to discuss industry and innovations in more detail with any commissioners who are interested. However, I would conclude by saying that while it may not be perfect, the care label rule should be considered essential, and you guys should take a bow because it is largely successful.
Thank you, Nora. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you, Lindsay. And this concludes the open forum in today's event. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to hearing more at future events. Take care.